I was standing in our cramped Brooklyn loft, 8 months pregnant, staring at a letter from Chase Private Client. The letter was addressed to my husband, Daniel Foster. The same Daniel who'd asked me last week if we could wait another month before buying a crib because money was tight. The letter congratulated him on his portfolio performance. $43 million. My hands started shaking.
How could you do this to me?
I looked up.
Please, just let me
Daniel
explain.
was standing in the
Explain what?
doorway
You
of our
lied to
bedroom,
me.
I didn't mean
paint
for this
still
to
under
happen.
his fingernails from his morning session, wearing the threadbare jeans I'd bought him at Goodwill 3 years ago. How long? My voice came out as a whisper. He didn't even try to lie, just stood there, looking at me with those sad brown eyes, and said, "Since before we met." I dropped the letter. Let me back up. Let me tell you how I got here. Standing in this moment where my entire life revealed itself as a carefully constructed lie. I was 35 years old when my mother sat me down at Thanksgiving and told me I was going to die alone. Not in those exact words, but close enough. My sister Emma had just announced her 3rd pregnancy. My brother's kids were running around the house. And there I was, the successful one, the lawyer who made partner at 33, sitting at the table with an empty chair beside me. "Rebecca," my mother said, using that voice that made me feel 12 again. "You can't be too picky. You're not getting any younger." I'd heard it before. The comments about my standards being too high, how I was too focused on work, how men my age wanted younger women anyway, so I should be grateful for anyone who'd have me. I threw myself into my work even harder after that. Told myself I didn't care. I had a corner office in Midtown Manhattan with a view of the Empire State Building. I had a salary that made my younger self's dreams look quaint. I didn't need a man to complete me. But late at night, in my pristine Chelsea apartment that echoed when I walked through it, I wondered if my mother was right. That's when I met Daniel. It was a rainy Saturday in March. I'd gone to a small gallery in Williamsburg, one of those places that always smells like coffee and pretension. I was there because a client had mentioned it, and I was trying to cultivate interests beyond depositions and briefs. I was standing in front of a painting, a swirl of blues and grays that somehow captured the exact feeling of loneliness I'd been trying not to name, when someone spoke beside me. "It's called Waiting Room. I painted it in my ex-girlfriend's apartment after she kicked me out." I turned. He was maybe 40, with paint-stained hands and a gentle smile. Not handsome exactly, but kind-looking. Real. Nothing like the finance bros I met at the firm's networking events, who spent the whole conversation staring at my chest or checking their phones. "It's beautiful," I said. "Thank you." He held out his hand. "Daniel Foster. Rebecca Chen." We talked for 2 hours. He told me about his art, how he'd been trying to make it work in New York for 15 years, how he lived in a tiny studio in Bushwick with 3 roommates, how his family back in Ohio had stopped asking when he was going to get a real job. I loved his authenticity, his vulnerability. Here was a man who'd chosen passion over profit, art over security, a man who knew what really mattered. When he asked me to dinner, I said yes. On our 3rd date, he admitted he couldn't afford anywhere nice. We got pizza and ate it on a bench in Prospect Park. He told me about growing up poor, how art saved him, how he dreamed of having a show in a real gallery someday. I remember thinking, this is what I've been missing, someone who values things beyond money, someone genuine. My mother hated him immediately. "An artist?" she said when I brought him to Sunday dinner. "Rebecca, you're 35. You need stability, security. What's he going to provide?" "Not everything is about money, Mom," says the woman who's never been without it. But I didn't care. For the first time in years, I was happy. Daniel made me laugh. He cooked me dinners in his cramped kitchen. He painted portraits of me that made me feel beautiful in a way I'd never felt before. After 6 months, he told me he was being evicted. His roommates were moving out, and he couldn't afford the place alone. He looked so defeated, so ashamed. "Move in with me," I said. My Chelsea apartment had 2 bedrooms. I could afford it. And more than that, I wanted him there. Wanted to wake up next to him. Wanted to build a life together. He moved in with a duffel bag and 3 paintings. That was it. Everything he owned fit in my coat closet. I started paying for everything. It happened gradually. Dinners, groceries, his art supplies, the studio space I rented for him in Brooklyn because he needed better light, the money for canvas and paint, and the website I had designed to showcase his work. "I'll pay you back," he always said. "When I sell something big." "It's fine," I always said. "I make enough for both of us." And I did. My salary was healthy. I was making senior partner money. I could afford to support us both. My friends started asking questions. "Are you sure about this guy?" My college roommate Sarah said over drinks. "I mean, when's he gonna contribute?" "He contributes in other ways," I said. "He makes me happy." "But Becca, you're spending thousands on him. Doesn't it bother you that he never pays?" It didn't. Or I told myself it didn't, because Daniel made me feel something I'd never felt with the lawyers and bankers I'd dated before. He made me feel needed, essential, like I mattered for more than just my accomplishments. After 2 years, he proposed. It was perfect, exactly what I would have chosen if I'd been planning it myself. A quiet evening in our apartment, no expensive ring, just his grandmother's simple gold band. "I can't give you diamonds," he said, kneeling on the floor of our living room. "I can't give you a fancy wedding or a honeymoon in Europe, but I can give you my whole heart. Will you marry me, Rebecca?" I said yes through tears. We got married at City Hall with just my family and 2 of my friends as witnesses. My mother wore black. Emma kept asking when Daniel was going to get a job with benefits. My father just looked sad. But I didn't care. I had Daniel. I had love. That was enough. We talked about kids. I was 37 by then. The doctor said we should try sooner rather than later if we wanted them. Daniel seemed uncertain. "I don't know if I can be a father," he said. "What do I have to offer a child? I can barely support myself." "You'd offer love," I said. "That's what matters." "What about money? College? All the things kids need?" "I'll handle that," I said, like I handle everything else. I regretted it the moment I said it. But it was true. I handled everything. The rent, the bills, the groceries, his studio rent, his art supplies, the car I'd bought him because the subway was too unreliable for transporting paintings. He didn't say anything, just kissed my forehead and went back to his canvas. I got pregnant 4 months later. It wasn't planned, but I was thrilled. Daniel seemed scared, but he promised he'd step up. "I'll get a teaching job," he said. "Community college, something stable." "You don't have to," I said. "Keep painting. Follow your dream." But even as I said it, I felt something twist inside me. When was it going to be about my dreams? I'd cut back my hours at the firm, turn down cases, all so I could be home more, so Daniel could paint without worrying about domestic things. The pregnancy was hard. I was exhausted all the time, still working 60-hour weeks because someone had to pay the bills. Coming home to find Daniel in his studio, lost in his art, while I figured out dinner. "Did you go to the grocery store?" I asked one night, 7 months pregnant, standing in our empty kitchen. "Sorry, babe, I got caught up in this piece. It's really coming together." I ordered Thai food for the 3rd time that week. My credit card statement was up to $18,000, just from that month. My mother called. "How are you managing?" she asked. "Is Daniel working yet?" "He's an artist, Mom. It takes time." "Rebecca, you're about to have a baby. You can't afford to support 3 people on just your salary." "My salary is fine. For now. But what about maternity leave? What about when the baby comes and you need help? Is he going to step up?" I hung up on her. But her words stayed with me. 8 months pregnant. That's when I found the letter. I'd been looking for our insurance information. We needed to add the baby to my policy. Daniel said he'd filed all that stuff in the desk in his studio. I'd never gone through his desk before. It felt like a violation of his space. But I was tired. My feet were swollen. I just wanted to find the damn insurance cards and be done with it. The letter from Chase Private Client was in the top drawer, just sitting there, not even hidden. At first, I thought I was reading it wrong. $43 million. That couldn't be right. Must be some kind of mistake. Maybe he'd painted something for a millionaire and this was misfiled paperwork. But then I found the other letters. From his family's trust. From Morgan Stanley. From his attorney about his discretionary portfolio. Daniel Foster, the struggling artist who couldn't afford pizza, had $43 million. I stood there, one hand on my enormous belly, the other holding proof that my entire marriage was a lie. The baby kicked. Hard. Like she knew. Like she was saying, "Mom, what the hell?" I heard footsteps. Daniel was coming up from his studio. I turned, still holding the letter. He stopped when he saw my face, saw what I was holding. How long? I asked again. He walked over, sat down on his painting stool, looked at his hands. My family owns Foster Development, he said quietly. Commercial real estate, Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania. My grandfather started it. My father expanded it. When he died 5 years ago, it went to me and my sister. Our trust is worth about $90 million. I get half. I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. The art is real, he said quickly. I really paint. I really wanted to be an artist, but the money was always there. Why? It was all I could get out. Because I wanted someone to love me for me, he said. Not for what I could give them. Not because I could take them to street barts or buy them a house in the Hamptons. I wanted someone who'd eat pizza on a park bench with me because they liked talking to me. Not because they liked my credit limit. So you lied, I omitted. For 3 years. I was going to tell you. He stood up. I was going to tell you so many times. But then it had been 6 months, and I thought it was too late. And then a year, and then we were engaged, and then married. And I kept thinking, how do I tell her now? How do I explain that I've been lying this whole time? You let me pay for everything. My voice was shaking. You let me spend thousands and thousands of dollars while you had millions just sitting there. I offered to pay. You always said no. Because I thought you couldn't afford it. The baby kicked again. Harder. I felt dizzy. I supported you, I said. I cut back at work. I turned down partner track cases. I changed my entire life because I thought you needed me to. Because I thought I was helping you achieve your dreams. You were helping me. You did. No. You didn't need me at all. You just let me play house with the poor artist while you had a secret fortune. That's not fair. Fair? I laughed. It came out wrong. Harsh. You want to talk about fair? I spent 3 years believing I was in a partnership, an equal partnership. But you let me be the breadwinner, the responsible one. The one who sacrificed, while you played pretend poverty. I wasn't playing pretend. My art is real. My feelings are real. How am I supposed to believe anything about you is real? I walked past him. Started pulling suitcases out of the closet. What are you doing? He followed me into our bedroom. Packing your things. Becca. Come on. Get out. This is my home too. Is it? I threw a shirt at him. Or is it just another part of your little experiment in authenticity? Does it make you feel noble, living in my apartment, using my furniture, eating food I bought? You're being ridiculous. I'm being ridiculous? I'm 8 months pregnant with your baby, and I just found out my entire marriage is based on a lie. I love you. How do I know that? How do I know any of it was real? Maybe you just needed a wife for your fantasy, the successful career woman who'd support the starving artist. Must have been a nice change from the women who wanted your money. He stared at me. That's what you think? That you were part of some game? What else am I supposed to think? We stood there, facing each other across the bed. I was crying. I hadn't even realized it. I thought you were different, I said quietly. I thought you valued things beyond money. I thought you were genuine. I am genuine. You're a liar. I told him to pack his things and go. He tried to argue, tried to explain, but I couldn't hear it. Couldn't look at him. He left that night. Went to a hotel, he said. I didn't ask which one. Didn't care. I sat in our empty apartment, surrounded by his paintings, and cried until I couldn't breathe. My phone started ringing. I didn't answer, but the voicemails piled up. Daniel, my mother, Emma, Sarah, everyone had an opinion. Finally, I listened to one. Emma's voice. Becca, Mom told me what happened. I'm coming over. She showed up with ice cream and fury. He lied to you for 3 years? Yep. What an asshole. But then she paused. Although what? I don't know. Is it that different from him being actually poor? You still married him. You still loved him. The deception is the problem, Emma. I know it is. She ate ice cream straight from the carton. But didn't you kind of like taking care of him? What? Come on, Becca. You loved being needed. You loved being the strong one, the provider. It made you feel good. That's not. It is. I saw how you lit up when you talked about supporting his art, how you took care of him. You liked it. I wanted to argue, but I couldn't. My mother came by next. I expected her to gloat, to say she told me so, but she surprised me. "He loves you," she said. "How do you know?" "Because a man with $43 million doesn't spend 3 years in a one-bedroom apartment eating takeout if he doesn't love the woman he's with." "He lied, Mom." "Yes, he did. And that's wrong." She sat next to me on the couch. "But Rebecca, you're not perfect either." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you liked being the successful one. The one with power. You liked that he needed you financially because it meant he couldn't leave." I stared at her. "I know you, honey. You've always been terrified of people leaving you. Ever since your father and I almost divorced when you were 12. You control things, money, career, relationships. You liked being the one in control." "That's not true." "Isn't it? Why do you think you never dated successful men? You always found something wrong with them, too arrogant, too competitive." "But Daniel, he needed you, or you thought he did. It felt safe." I couldn't speak. "He lied," my mother said again. "That's not okay. But ask yourself, would you have given him a chance if you'd known he was rich? Would you have let your guard down?" After she left, I sat there for hours, thinking, remembering. I remembered our first date. How I'd been surprised when he suggested pizza because I'd assumed he was just being cheap. How relieved I'd felt that he wasn't trying to impress me with expensive restaurants. I remembered feeling superior. Feeling like I was better than those shallow women who only cared about money. Like I was evolved, enlightened. But was I? Or had I just found a different way to measure worth? A different way to keep people at arm's length? The baby kicked. I put my hand on my belly. "Your father's an idiot," I told her, "but so is your mother." I went to see a therapist. Dr. Martinez was a short woman with kind eyes who didn't let me get away with anything. "He lied," I said in our first session. "For years." "Yes, he did." That must have hurt deeply. "It did. It does." "Can I ask you something?" She leaned forward. "Why did you support him financially?" "Because he needed it. He was poor. But you didn't know that for certain when you met him. You offered to pay for things. You insisted, sometimes. Why?" I thought about it. "I wanted to help. Or did you want to be needed? What's the difference? Helping is about the other person. Being needed is about you." I felt something crack inside me. "When did you feel most loved in this relationship?" Dr. Martinez asked. I expected to say, "When we talked about art. When he painted me. When he told me I was beautiful." But what came out was, when he asked me for help, when he needed money for supplies, when he couldn't afford things. She nodded. "And how did you feel when you found out he didn't need your money?" "Betrayed." "What else?" "Angry." "What else?" I started crying. Useless. There it was, the ugly truth. I'd needed him to need me. His poverty made me essential. His dependence made me safe. "He lied," Dr. Martinez said. "That's a fact. But Rebecca, you have to ask yourself, what were you lying about?" I went home that night and pulled out my phone. Scrolled through 3 years of messages. Saw the pattern I'd refused to see. Him. "I can probably cover dinner this time." Me. "Don't be silly. I've got it." Him. "I got a commission. $5,000. Me. "That's great. We can put it toward your studio rent." Him. "Maybe I should look for part-time work." Me. "No. Focus on your art. I'm happy to support us." Every time he tried to contribute, I shut him down. Every time he tried to be equal, I reminded him I didn't need it, that I could handle everything. I'd kept him dependent, maybe not consciously, maybe not maliciously, but I'd done it. The baby was due in 3 weeks. Daniel had been calling every day. I hadn't answered. But one night, at 2 a.m., feeling her kick and knowing I couldn't do this alone, I called him back. "Becca?" He answered on the first ring. "Are you okay? Is it the baby?" "It's not the baby." I paused. "I've been thinking." "Me too. You lied to me." "That was wrong." "I know. But I lied too. To myself. About why I wanted this relationship." He was quiet. "I wanted someone who needed me," I said. "Someone who couldn't leave because I was essential. And you let me believe that. But I kept you there too. Every time you tried to contribute, I shut you down. Because if you didn't need me, I'd leave. He finished. That's what you thought. Yes, Becca. I didn't marry you because you supported me financially. I married you because you're brilliant and funny and you make me want to be better. I would have married you if you were a barista. But you didn't give me the choice. You didn't let me choose you without the poverty narrative. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We talked until 4 a.m. about his fear of being used for money, about my fear of being left, about all the ways we'd both been dishonest. Can we try again? He asked. Can we start over, but honest this time? I don't know if we can start over. We have too much history. Then can we start from here? From this truth? I thought about it. About the baby coming, about the life we'd built, lies and all, about the fact that underneath the deception, I did love him, and he loved me. We'd need couples therapy, I said. Done. And you need to be honest. About everything. Money, feelings, all of it. Yes. And I need to work on my control issues. We both have work to do. The baby came 3 weeks later. A girl. Charlotte. 7 pounds, 9 ounces. Daniel was there, holding my hand, crying when she cried. In the hospital room, holding our daughter, he said, I set up a trust for her, and I transferred half of everything to your name. I should have done it years ago. I don't want your money. It's not about the money. It's about partnership. Real partnership. Equal. I looked at him. At our daughter. At the life we'd made from lies and truth and everything in between. We're going to need a bigger apartment, I said. He laughed. I know a good real estate developer. We moved to a townhouse in Park Slope. Daniel keeps painting. I went back to work part-time. We split everything 50-50 now. Childcare. Cooking. Bills. He pays his half. I pay mine. It's not perfect. We still fight. I still struggle with wanting to control everything. He still sometimes doesn't tell me things because he's afraid of how I'll react. But we're honest now. Messily, imperfectly honest. Charlotte is 3 now. She looks like Daniel but has my stubbornness. Last week, she asked why Daddy has a studio. Because Daddy's an artist. I said, what's Mommy? Mommy's a lawyer. Why? Because Mommy likes solving problems. Do you solve Daddy's problems? Daniel and I looked at each other and laughed. Sometimes, I said. But Daddy solves his own problems too. We help each other. Like partners, she said. Yes, Daniel said. Like partners. That night, after Charlotte was asleep, I found Daniel in his studio. He was working on a new painting, a family portrait. Me, him, Charlotte, all tangled together, imperfect and real. I love you, I said. I love you too, even though I'm a control freak. Even though. Maybe even because. And I love you even though you're a millionaire. Technically, I'm almost broke now. I donated most of it. Set up a foundation for struggling artists. I stared at him. You what? I kept enough for Charlotte's education and our retirement. The rest, I didn't need it. I never needed it. You're insane. Probably. He kissed me. But you married me anyway. I look at him sometimes and wonder what our life would have been like if he'd told me the truth from the beginning. If I'd known he was rich, if I'd known I didn't need to take care of him, would I have let him in? Would I have let myself love him? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I needed the lie to feel safe enough to take the risk. But I know this. We chose each other. Every day. Through the lies and the truth and everything messy in between. That's what